Hi, I'm Nate May, and this isn't music theory. Today I want to take a look at this new song that came out from Bruno Mars and Anderson Paak under the name Silk Sonic called Leave the Door Open. I'm pretty excited about this song, and so are many of my other fellow 65-year-olds because it reminds us of an era called Motown, which we really love the music from that era. Those of us who have vintage electric pianos included in that group. I wanted to go through and show you how to understand this song, which will help you to play it and play it in different keys and maybe improvise over it if you want. There are some tabs out on the internet. I looked at them. Many of them are pretty wrong. So we'll go over the kind of actually what's going on and where the chords are actually coming from and not just what they are. And then at the end, I'll play the whole thing on this Fender Rhodes, unless YouTube makes me cut that part out, in which case just send me 5 Bitcoin and the video will arrive on your doorstep in a Ziploc bag. I have another video where I take a song that I've never heard before and go through the process of learning it by ear. The gist of that is that we move from what we can hear to what we can't hear through a process of experimentation, and we focus on the structures, which are chords and scales, as flexible ideas. That allows us to understand the song in a way that is really, really flexible. So a good thing to do in the first couple of listens is to get a sense of the form or the structure of the song. In this case, it's a pretty standard structure. You've got an intro, you've got a couple of verses, you got the pre-chorus, the chorus, a couple of verses, pre-chorus, chorus, a bridge, another chorus, and then an outro. But it's actually simpler than that because the intro is the same as the verse, and all of the chords in the verse are recycled in the chorus. And the outro is just a mashup of the bridge and the chorus, so there are really only 3 unique sections: the verse and chorus, the pre-chorus, and the bridge. I'm going to be showing you the chords on something I call the Keyring. It's just the 12 notes in one octave of a keyboard wrapped in a circle, like the 12 hours of a clock. Just like a clock, clockwise is always up. You'll see the scales appear like this. For this video, I'm splitting up right-hand chords and left-hand notes, which makes things a lot simpler, since there are 10 chord types in this song, but only 5 different types of right-hand chords. You'll see the right-hand chords as shapes with a starburst on their root. I'll show the left-hand bass notes with an arrow. If splitting right-hand chords from left-hand notes is confusing to you, look up the concept of upper structures. So let's start with the intro and then the verse and chorus. Okay, at this point, I can just be getting a sense of what notes I'm hearing. Doesn't matter what instrument or voice they're in. So if I hear, bum, I happen to already know that was an A, but I could probably find that just by trial and error. So there's an A in it, that's already helpful. And then I hear, bum, bum, bum. That gives me a G. So I'm starting to triangulate a key. That's the process that I'm going through here. So I've already got those 4 notes, which happens to be a major tetrachord. So that's part of one of probably 2 possible scales. One is that one. And the other is that one, right? So C major or G major. So if I don't hear this F sharp, then I'm probably in a C major collection. Let's keep listening. Okay, so I hear the first bass note there, which happens to be an F natural. So I'm in this collection, which is the white keys, and we could call it the C major collection. Okay, the next thing I want to do in this section is to focus on the bass line, because that's going to tell us what the chords are doing in a general way. Okay, so here's the very beginning of the verse. What you doing? What you doing? Where you at? So I have that F that I heard earlier. Oh, you got plans. You got plans. Don't say that. Still an F. Shut your trap. I'm sipping wine. In a row. Now it goes down a half step. I look too good. Now it goes up a perfect fourth. So I have, let's keep listening. And then I have, so and then the whole thing repeats. So this whole verse is just, and then I have this little run, right? But the main motion here is this. And that's a kind of a familiar thing. We hear it in, like, for instance, there's this prelude by Sergei Rachmaninoff that like starts like this. Right? That's this motion that's the flat 6, the 5, and the 1. Right? And here we have it in A minor. So we've established that we're using the C major collection, all the white keys, and now we're starting to get the sense that at least in this section, the A is sort of the tonic, which means that we're sort of in A minor. I say sort of because when we keep listening, that may shift a little bit. But for now, we have this motion that points us to that A, and the F kind of points down to the E, which points up to the A. Okay, we've got the key and the bass motion for this section. Let's take a look at the rest of the chords. So that sound is actually just triads moving over the same bass note. So let's separate the bass note from the chords for a minute, and then when we put them together, it'll make a lot more sense. So what we have in the right hand is this. And that's 2 triads, A minor and G. Now I want to show you something really cool that happens when we put those triads together in a scale. So we have, there's A minor, there's G, right? That's G in first inversion, there's A minor in root position. So what we have is a 6-note scale that is all the white keys except F. Now, look what happens if we take every other note of that scale and we build a triad off of it. And then we move that, right? So we're still taking every other note. There's that G triad. Now, every other note, we're back to A minor, back to G, A minor, G, A minor, G, A minor, etc. So there's this 6-note scale that contains only A minor and G when we move through that scale with chords. And that's actually all that's happening here when we look at the right hand. We can describe everything as just an A minor or a G. And then we have all of that is coming just from this scale using every other note. Okay, now let's look at what happens when we combine the bass line we learned with the chords we learned for the right hand. So the bass line, we'll remember, is going just like that, and the chords are just going A minor, G, G, A. So if we put those together in the most obvious way, we would have something like this. And that's the general idea of what's happening. But instead, what we're actually getting is a little bit of displacement. So the chords move before the bass line moves, like this. And then this is the same notes just moved to a different inversion. So if I were to play everything in the same inversion, that would sound like this. Right. So let's listen to how that unfolds. And then you have that little, right? So all I'm doing is still moving through that 6-note scale with every note by going, and the left hand is following. So then we repeat that. Now there, the same thing happens, but at half the speed. That's it for the verse, and the chorus, we'll see, uses the same chords. Let's actually skip forward to the chorus.
I'ma leave the door open. I'ma leave the door open. I'ma leave the door open, girl. I'ma leave the door open. That you feel.
But now we have a little bit of additional chords that are part of the verse that aren't part of the chorus.
You feel the way I feel and you want.
So we've already heard that one. That's something like this one.
Like I want you tonight, baby.
Then we moved into this new chord. Right? This is, if we're still just thinking about the bass and the right hand separately, we can listen to that root motion that moves from the F to the G. And now it sounds like we're in 5 territory, right? So this sounds like we're about to go from the 5 to the 1. One thing that happens in a lot of soul music is on our 5 chord, where we would normally get the leading tone. I say normally, but it's really not normal. It's just what they teach you in school. You would expect to see this leading tone, which is the 7th scale degree of the scale in our C major scale. But a lot of gospel and soul music just avoids that note entirely. So what you get for a 5 chord is a suspended chord, and that chord includes the C, which is not supposed to be in a 5 chord. And then we have some other notes in there that just kind of decorate it. So essentially this is a 5/7, but instead of this note, we have that note. And then we have there's the 5th, and then we have the 9th as well. So I'm saying a 5/7. This chord, when G is a 5 chord, it wants to resolve to C, but we said we were in A minor. That's why the key is a little bit tricky, because we feel like we're in A minor for a while until we hear that 5 chord, which then resolves to a really nice C major 7, which then feels like the tonic. And then we actually have one more chord. Listen to this one. So that is just, we can hear the bass motion move down to A. And then on the top, we have this fully diminished 7 chord. And what that results in is an A7 flat 9. So if we review the whole verse, the whole chorus, let's just go back to the beginning of the chorus. And that's it. So if we want to give chord names to that, we talked about just the right hand being A minor and G, but once we have the F in the bass, what we get is F major 7, G7 with an F in the bass, E minor 7, and then A minor. So that's our verse and the first part of our chorus. And then we have this F major 7 moving to a G suspended 9, and then C major 7, and then A7 flat 9. Okay, so that's actually most of the song, if you can play that in another key as well, which we'll see later. But let's go back and learn that pre-chorus so that we can get between the verse and the chorus. Okay, so here's the end of the verse into the beginning of the pre-chorus.
We should be dancing, romancing,
right here.
in the east wing and the west wing of this mansion. What's happening? I am playing okay.
Okay, so we have a key change there, and I just wanted you to hear that sound, because it's a really common sound in Motown when you're moving to a different section, especially a bridge. In this case, it's a pre-chorus. If you listen to songs like "I'll Be There,"
And I'll be there.
"Love Train," usually adding 2 or 3 flats or naturals to the key signature. So let's start to pick some notes that we hear and then figure out what key we're in from that. Right, we're hearing a lot of that. Okay, that's a G. Okay, so now we have our first flat note there, which is the E flat. Okay, so we have 4 notes, which is a good start. If you tryna, okay, that's a D. Okay, so really we just have those 5 notes so far. Let's see if we can listen to the bass line for additional context on what key we might be in. Okay, that is an A flat in the bass. So now we have most of our notes of our scale, and actually we can just kind of figure out the other one, because there's not going to be a B natural as part of, that doesn't make a scale. Instead, our B has to be flat. So we have 3 flats in the key signature now. All right, now let's do the same thing we did before and just listen to that bass line to figure out what the general chord motion is. So that's an E flat. Now we have that A flat. That's just walking down. Now we have this. So, and that's it. So the whole pre-chorus, it just goes E flat, A flat, walk down to the F, really quick hop to the C, and then move to the G. So let's figure out what chords go along with that. So here we have, we start off with just an E flat major chord, and then we've got that little subtle motion down to the E flat major 7, and then the A flat. So now we're walking down. This is kind of a common gospel thing, right? Just parallel triads moving within the scale. And then we have, there's not really much of a chord on this note, but then we do have that G sus9 chord, which isn't part of the key, right? That's not part of our 3 flat key, because we have an A natural in it. So that's actually moving us back to the key that the verse and the chorus are in. So let's go over this pre-chorus again.
And the west wing of this mansion was happening. I am playing no games. Every word that I say is coming straight from the heart. So if you're trying to lay these on, I'ma leave the...
That's it. There's a pre-chorus. And then we know the chorus. So let's skip to the bridge now. Okay, here's the end of the chorus. Here's that, okay, so the C major 7 is actually turned into a major 9 at that point. So you just add another third on it to make it even like sunnier. There's that A7 flat 9. Okay, so now we're in the bridge. The first step in the other sections has been to figure out what key we're in. Let's see what happens when we think in that way. Okay, well, we can already hear that we've got this this motion from the A flat to the G in the bass. So if we're thinking in terms of key, we might be looking for a key with those 2 notes in it. But let's keep listening. Same thing repeats. By the way, if I couldn't hear the bass note, I could be listening to the melody. Right, so I've got that tetrachord going on. Okay, so now what we have is a sequence. So the same idea is happening in a different key. Let's see if we can identify the key. La, la, la. Okay, so we had this tetrachord. Now we have this tetrachord. Right, so we had these 4 notes, and we were moving like this in the bass. Now we're doing the exact same thing down a whole step. Okay, so let's just review that so far, which is that happens again, and then we have. So we're sort of in 2 different keys already in the bridge. Now we get this new chord leading to another suspended 5 chord. And that suspended 5 chord is here. So that's an A flat suspended 5. And then if we listen to the chord before that, it's this chord. So the bass line is going down a whole step there. So we have an E flat moving to that A flat suspended 7 chord. So really we have this one key, which actually sort of sounds like we've got that flat 6 5 1 thing going on again, right? So it's almost like we're in C minor at the beginning. We might hear, right, or resolving to the major version of that. That might be an expected thing from that. So that's sort of trying to point us back to C, because we have that flat 6 5 motion, which we expect to be flat 6 5 1. But then we get the same thing a whole step down, which sort of points us to this B flat, right? But we never get the B flat. Instead, we get down another step, right, to the E flat, and then pointing up a perfect 4th to this suspended 5 chord. So what we have here is this little trickery that's happening that's getting us to the 5 7 of D flat major, which is a half step above C major. So all we did in that bridge was just modulate from C major to D flat. And we did that through this tricky process that sort of made us expect to arrive somewhere where we didn't. And we can actually hear a very similar technique in the bridge to Ain't No Mountain High by Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell. Okay, so now we're about to get to the last chorus, which is then up a half step in D flat. Let's review the bridge and how we get there. So here we are at C major 7. There's the A 7. Here's the bridge. Do that again. Same thing down a whole step. And then we have flat minor 7. And there, actually, that they wanted to make that chord so sunny that they added a 13 to it. So we've got that really nice stack of thirds there. And now we're into the chorus at the end, which is in D flat. So that's actually all of the sections. You have the verse and chorus, you have the bridge, and you have the pre-chorus. We did them in a different order. But now that we already know the verse and chorus, we can play this upcoming part. We just have to do it up a half step. That thing, right? I'm playing a Rhodes, so I had to do that. Now we get this little outro, which is referencing the bridge, but now in the key of D flat. but we resolve it as we did in the chorus. So this is just a little mashup of the bridge and the chorus. And then we get the studio fade. So that's the whole thing. I will now play it from the beginning. If YouTube doesn't cut this out, enjoy it. Thanks for watching.